Boom. Okay, welcome everybody. It's Monday, June 12th in Maui and Tuesday, June 13th in Asia. And I'm Jim Mansky.
And I'm Joy Mansky.
And we're happy to be with you today. And our topic is going ever deeper into empathy. I think it's our last week practicing empathy. Not that we'll stop practicing empathy, but next week we'll shift. We'll shift into into a request, into one of the types of requests that we'll be working with. But needed to set the stage for empathy because you just might hear no. And so we wanted to make sure that we had some good practice with empathy. So we'll deepen into that some more today. And I'm feeling a little bit hot in the moment. Summer has definitely arrived here in Maui, and it's an El Nino, which means it's going to be a hot, dry year if predictions come true. And so we're getting ready to start saving water and stuff like that, because it can get, even though we live in the middle of a rainforest, we can still have droughts. How are you?
I think I feel a little tired. I'm so glad you're an ever ready bunny.
I was about to go take a nap and just ask you to take over.
So-
I was going to go upstairs if that's all
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You lied.
Yeah. So let me just explain a little bit about what we do here. It's a practice group focusing on nonviolent communication. It's open to people of all interest levels of NVC, whether there are people here that are already certified trainers like Mickey, and there are people that are candidates, people that have been doing NVC sometimes people come here that have been doing NVC longer than us. And we have people who are here for the very first time, just getting their first taste of NVC. And so we try to design each class to be a standalone so that you don't need to know anything coming in. The only prerequisite is your humanity. And so we teach human to human here and offer you opportunities to practice. And we practice 3 different ways. In just a moment, we'll have a chance to practice self-connection or self-empathy. And Happy Ron is going to sing us a song to help us get in the mood. Then we'll go to small groups, pairs today. Everything will be in pairs today because we're going to be practicing empathy and want everybody to have as much of a chance to practice as possible. So if for some reason you don't want to be in a small group, just put an equal sign in front of your name. That's probably the only thing that's going to get our attention, is if you change your name and put an equal sign in front of it. If you send us a chat, we may or may not see it. So if you don't want to be in a small group, let us know by putting an equal sign in front of your name.
And you can see that someone's already done it on the top. So just give you an idea of what that is.
Yeah, and so I need to move her out of the group, which I'll do while Ron's
Yeah.
playing his song. So Ron,
Yes.
let's hear what you got for us today, and invite everybody else to just put away everything that you can and give Ron the gift of your presence.
Thank you. And if everyone could mute as well, please. So my name's Happy Ron. I've been a student of Marshall of NVC since '95, and actually a student of Marshall's music. People tend to forget that he wrote quite a few songs, which are really hard to find nowadays. But this is one of my songs I wrote that was influenced by him. I'm not here to show you just what to do and how. I'm not here to make the pain go away right now. I'm just here to be here for you. I'm just here to be here for you. You say you don't need anyone to help see you through. I've heard that before. We both know you do. I'm just here to be here for you. I'm just here to be here for you. And if you don't believe me, I'll try harder. I'm gonna stay right here until you know the truth. I don't have a magic wand, don't have a golden ring. I don't have all the answers or know everything. I'm just here to be here for you. I'm just here to be here for you. It's been too long that you've been down, and I know it hurts, but time will speed up, you'll move on. That's the way these things work. I can't keep you from the fates that we all face. I'm not here to take your memories and hit erase. I'm just here to be here for you. I'm just I'm Happy Ron. I'll be playing a show 8 o'clock on Pacific time on Sunday on YouTube. I'm going to post a link in the chat. It's a free show on YouTube if you want to check it out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ron. So invite everyone else to just take a moment and let that register. That song register with you. Yeah, so just notice what it's like to receive that message. Notice the feelings that arise in you, whatever they may be. Might come in the form of sensations, may come in the form of emotions. Just stay with your body. You might notice thoughts. You just let them go and return to feeling. And then follow these feelings into your heart. Just imagine that you can trace back these sensations and emotions to your heart, wondering what need is alive in me right now. It may be, of course, different now than it was when you were listening to the song, because now you're listening to my voice. Maybe some other things have happened in your environment, but just stay present with yourself. What's important to you right now? Just stay with that question. If your mind wanders, just ask it again. What's important to me right now? Just keep returning to that question. What's important to me right now? And then I invite you to think of one thing that made your life wonderful sometime during the last week since last we met. What's one gift that you received? One thing that made your life more wonderful. Maybe it was the song we just heard. Maybe it was a connection with a family member. Maybe it was reading something or being with a friend. Think of one thing that made your life wonderful. And then ask yourself, why would I think that made my life wonderful? What need of mine did that contribute to? Then go back to the body again and notice how you feel right now, remembering that you received this gift. Allow yourself to fully feel the feeling or feelings that are alive in you. Maybe it's a feeling of gratitude or appreciation or joy. Maybe something else. Then I invite you to take responsibility for doing your part to receive this gift. What part did you play? Did you ask for something? Did you make a request? Were you present to receive the gift? Something else? What part did you play in making life more wonderful for yourself? And from this place of self-connection, I'm going to invite you to go and have a conversation. Just a conversation for about 10 minutes with a partner. And during the conversation, the idea is that you just do the best you can to stay present. And hold the other person with care and warmth. Hold yourself with care and warmth. And take your time. All the groups are pairs, I think. And so we're going to do this activity for about 12 minutes. So you don't need to take turns because it's a conversation. We call it a mindful conversation. So you're just being present with each other and enjoying each other's human company. So we'll be back here in about 12 minutes. The timer will count down from 11. There'll be 1 minute at the end to finish up your conversation. So we'll see you all back here in 12 minutes.
Anyway, it was wonderful
Yeah.
having
Okay.
you listen to me. Okay.
Everybody's coming back now. Sorry to hear you had technical difficulties. Yeah. So just notice before we check in a little bit here, just notice what it's like just to have a conversation. What was it like for you? Whether for some it was really kind of frustrating because there was some technical glitches. For others, you actually were able to connect and just have a conversation. Just notice what it's like in your body right now to have had that experience. And just consider for yourself, when you think about empathy during that conversation, did you have any? Did you have a sense of empathic connection with the person that was your partner? It's okay if you didn't. There wasn't any instruction about that, but just notice if you did. And notice also if there was a sense of what it was like for you to express yourself. If you had a chance to say what was on your mind to the other person, what was it like just to be able to speak, not knowing what might happen next in the dialogue? So for me, this is kind of how we spend our day, right? We just have conversations with people without a whole lot of intention sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just what human beings are really good at. We have 10,000 years or more of experience just connecting with other human beings. just chatting, small talk, maybe saying something deep, maybe not, maybe expressing empathy, maybe not. It's just what we do as human beings. So there's something you'd like to say about what that experience was like. To stick to the question. And so what was it like for you to either be the listener or the speaker or both during that brief exercise? Siva, what was it like for you?
Can we back up? First of all, I want to apologize to my partner, Dan, for clicking on that escape button. I didn't want to, but
Yeah,
I
catch your
did.
regret. Yep.
that's my regret. But I would like you, certainly for my sake, and maybe other people wonder the difference, and maybe I asked you last week, the difference between empathy and compassion. That's one topic. And then what I've noticed is today you emphasize both giving and receiving. And the way I see that is this infinity that they are like the yin and yang. They just, for the flow, to be in the flow, we've got to do both with compassion or empathy or all those other good.
Yeah, I like that. I like that symbolism, Siva, and I will address your question about empathy versus compassion. I've written it down, and I will definitely come back to that because I think it's an important distinction. Sirvana?
Yes. I guess I'm supposed to speak what's alive in me regarding last exercise. Am I right?
Sure.
So I'm extremely grateful to both of you and the universe because I was out for maybe 5-6 minutes. But when you put me to my old empathy buddy, which I lost last 5-6 months. And I was saying, wow, what a miracle, what a magic. It's and in that 6 minutes, we both could complete. And still there was a time, and still she asked me deeper question, and I was so amazed with it. Oh God, I mean, I have no words. I'm speechless to have this experience.
Oh.
And trust me, last all, I don't remember how many months I'm just away from NBC, not practicing anything. But something pulled me today, and I'm extremely grateful to everything, to myself, to you, everything. So sweet. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Oh, so happy to take that in.
Yeah, I love celebrating with you. That was really fun. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Just allow yourself right now, if you were listening to Sirvana, allow yourself to imagine what the world is like through her body right now as she expresses that joy. Just imagine what it would be like to be sitting in her shoes, so to speak. So that's the power of our empathic imagination, to be able to enter into another person's experience, or at least a facsimile of it, a guess about what that experience is like. That's pointing us in the direction of empathy. Marshall called it a respectful understanding of another person's experience. A respectful understanding of another person's experience. But he went on to say that it's not a mental understanding. It's not like trying to figure out using your left brain what's going on, but rather to use your heart to resonate. Now I'm using my words, not Marshall's. To use your heart to resonate with what it's like to be that other person. I love this image, this metaphor of resonance. And what it means is like let's just say that you've got a piano in your room, and hanging on your wall is also a guitar. And if you go over and you press the C key on your piano, and then you go over and hang out next to the guitar, you'll notice that the C string on that guitar is vibrating just like the string that was touched on the piano, because the guitar is resonating with the piano.
Wow.
And that's what one of the things that we human beings are really great at. We're great at resonating. It's like a superpower that human beings have. And we're going to deepen your experience today, hopefully, of that superpower of empathy. Is there anybody else that wants to share anything about what we've done so far before we do the next practice? Yeah, go ahead, Monica.
I did have an experience of resonance when I was listening to my partner, and I was inspired. It felt like my heart was expanding, and I realized I wasn't. The words were beautiful, but what I was appreciating the most was that that she was inspired. And she was really seeing it, what she was sharing with me, she was seeing for herself, seeing and experiencing for herself. And so she was sharing the value of these words, the value these words had for her experience. And I was very inspired.
Oh.
And now that you describe that resonance, and I've got to experience it in this class many times, like the power of thoughts. I just have a question about how to handle when the person we're listening to is in pain.
Is in pain.
Right. And then, as most of us, I'm pretty sure most of us are empaths in this group, we immediately start resonating with that pain, and whatever you can share about that, because I tend not to want to feel it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we sometimes also have an emotional response to someone else's emotions, and at the same time want to be walking with them. And I notice for myself, if it is somewhat overwhelming, I get kind of quiet and, just let them be, or just, give them one little acknowledgement. Oh, that hurt, or something like that, to just manage the self-care, but also to acknowledge to that person. And if I get in too much pain, I'm going to be honest about that. I'd love to be able to listen to you right now. And right now it's just really hard for me. I might ask for, can we just take a minute or so and just breathe? Or, some other request that we can move forward with. Anything you want to add to that?
I want to find out how that is for you to hear, Monica.
Where's Monica?
Right here.
No, it's a new way of thinking about how to respond. So I really appreciate that. It feels I'm appreciative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what part of the way that I keep it straight in myself is with pronouns. So if the pronoun that's alive in me is you, I'm wondering what's important to you. Then that's a signal that I'm in empathy, because my attention is on you and whatever I catch as the life that's moving in you. It may be feelings, it may be needs, it may be observations or requests, but my focus is on you. If the focus becomes, and I shift the pronoun to I, then I realize that I'm no longer in empathy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I'm not in empathy anymore. I'm focused on my own experience. So now I'm closer to what we would call honesty in NVC. I'm now paying attention to what I'm feeling and what I'm needing. So if I'm listening to Jory and she starts talking about something that's painful for you, and I'm able to stay with her, if I'm able to stay with her and my focus is on her and her experience, then I remain in empathy. And I don't need any words to describe that. I'm just with her. I'm just walking with her. If I notice a thought like, oh, it must suck to be her. It must be, I get, so now I'm starting to make some more mental guesses about what's going on for her. And I might also then, even if she's really in some kind of agony, then I might start sympathizing, feeling the same thing that she's feeling. And now I'm really in honesty. And so when I hear you crying like that, I notice I feel anguish because I really care about your well-being. That's my honesty. That's no longer empathy.
Mhm.
It's what's going on in me. So the advice that I heard from Marshall when we had a chance to talk to him for about 2 hours once, and we had him trapped in a car on a car ride,
Driving back, yeah.
and we could ask him anything we wanted. We asked him this very same question: how do you handle it when you're listening to somebody and they're in a lot of pain? And he said, well, first I'm get really clear on my intention. I want to start with, why do I want to listen to the person in the first place? So that's what we call the 0 step, right? We're getting really clear on our intention. Then he said, what I want to do next is bring as much of my attention as possible into the present moment. I don't have any agenda about where we need to go. I don't need to explore the past. I don't need to try to fix something in the future. I just want to be present with the other person. And then if I hear something and I start to get triggered, I'd go to self-empathy. He called it emergency first aid empathy, self-empathy. So Jory's speaking and she talks about, maybe she even refers to me as the stimulus of her pain. That's the toughest thing in relationship. You find out that you unintentionally did something that your partner experiences as harmful. That's almost guaranteed to send me into a need for self-empathy. So I start with that, and often, with experience, you can kind of do that very quickly. I'm feeling scared and worried, and I notice that I want to be understood. It wasn't my fault that you're feeling this. So what's my need? My need is understanding and connection. What might help? What about presence? I just go back and listen and see if I can put these needs onto a shelf temporarily. So that was Marshall's suggestion. Notice your own need, attend to it briefly, and then put it on the shelf, which means and once it's on the shelf, then you can return back to an empathic focus on the other person. Sometimes, though, the shelf gets so overburdened with your own pain that it starts to collapse. And then you do exactly what Jory said. You say, hang on, I need a timeout. My hair's on fire and I need to go put it in the shower and cool it off, or whatever it is. And so
Sometimes it's even a little more honest than that. I really want to walk with you for a moment, but I just noticed I'm getting triggered. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's honesty.
So you use your honesty to take your need off the shelf, acknowledge what's happening, and then come up with it's a new moment. You're still staying present. And so that's kind of the dance that we'll start playing with today as we keep going. And Rob.
Yeah, something a little different when I was with Harmony, and it kind of ended with a song we both knew, but my situation was that I was more honest than I like about playing music with somebody, and said I didn't want to play with them to a friend that wanted to play with them. And then I felt a lot of kind of negativity and like close down and demand. Anyway, so I thought of OTO, open to outcome. Open to outcome. Well, so what if they come next time? Whatever, just and then that song, and we both knew it. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one.
I love that song. I
And we both knew that. So
Thank you. Yeah, and OTO, I love that. OTO is just
Yeah,
another,
OTO.
another word for presence. If you're present, there's nowhere to go. You're just open to whatever happens next. I love it. Thanks, Rob. Very helpful.
okay.
Yeah, that's an oldie but goodie.
Okay, so let me share the screen with you a little bit and give you some context for today. We are talking about deep empathy. And first, let's just review a little bit about what we were just talking about. So there's nothing wrong with any of these other things that are on the list. This is the list on the right is the list that you guys came up with last week. The list on the left is Marshall's list of what empathy is not. Lots of similarities there. There's a place for all of these things. Some of these things can be extremely connecting. It's just not empathy. I'll just leave it on the screen for just a second so you can take it in. There's probably other things that are not empathy. And one other clue about what empathy is not. Do not think what you say is empathy. As soon as you think empathy is what you say, we're off target. Empathy is where we connect our attention, our consciousness. It's not what we say out loud. What we say out loud is reflection or acknowledgement or our honesty. But once we open our mouth, where we can express the empathy that we might be experiencing, but it's likely that we're no longer in empathy, at least for the moment that we're expressing. It can meet needs. And for example, when might we open our mouth? We might open our mouth if we sense that the other person would enjoy having a reflection. So this is us empathizing with a request that hasn't been made. And we could check it out. We could say, would you like me to tell you what I hear is important to you? So we could confirm whether or not our empathic guess of what they would like might be supportive. So that's one possibility that might motivate us to open our mouth when we're listening to somebody. The other is because we get lost. You know, the older I get, the more I notice my short-term memory is challenged. And so if somebody, I used to be able to just like listen to somebody for 5 minutes and just kind of take it all in and then play back a lot of what I heard. Not so much anymore. So if I notice that I start getting lost, I might just gently interrupt and say, let me see if I've got you.
Mhm.
Let me see if I catch where you're going here. And I might confirm. So is it that you're feeling angry because you're needing some respect? And then I go back to just listening again as they answer my question. So if I was to put that whole reflection into classical NVC, I would say, when I notice the number of words that are coming into me, I'm feeling confused because I have a need for clarity. Would you be willing to let me make a guess about what I sense is important to you? So you see, that's honesty.
Mhm.
It's just a shortcut thing that we do in NVC when we call them a feelings and needs guess. So we're going to practice today unpeeling the artichoke. If you notice the email that I sent out this week, it had an image of an artichoke. An artichoke is a vegetable that that grows in some places in the United States, grows here in Hawaii. And you can take the flower of the artichoke and you can steam it and then you can eat it. But it's a little bit strange as a vegetable because you're actually eating a flower. And if you start on the outside of the artichoke, it's very spiny, almost like a cactus. But because it's been steamed, it's sort of soft, and you start peeling off these layers. And so then if you keep on peeling, you get down to this kind of fuzzy stuff. It's like the part of the flower that gets kind of fuzzy, where, you know, like dandelion might flow off, but the artichoke kind of keeps it deep inside. And if you go past all that fuzzy stuff, then you get to the real heart of it, the heart of the artichoke, they call it. And this is the most delicious, juicy, savor spot to savor in artichoke. All the work, it takes like 45 minutes to cook an artichoke, and then it takes all this time to unpeel it, and then you finally get to the meat of it, and then you just really want to savor it. So that kind of is a symbol for the 3 layers that we'll experience today. So first, we start with our 0 step. What's motivating our empathy right now? And if we slip out of empathy, why am I opening my mouth? So to stay connected to our own needs as we do that, then the first layer is acknowledgement. And we're going to practice that in just a minute. I'm going to invite Jory to just say something that's painful about your life. And we're going to listen to her for maybe 5 minutes or something like that, until I sense it's a good place to stop. Then I'm going to invite all of you to write down an acknowledgement. And you can write down either an observation that you hear Jory say. So, or you can make a guess about what you sense Jory might be feeling in that moment. Or you can make a guess about what you imagine Jory wishes. And so this is practice in just being with her rather than trying to take her somewhere. Like we're not trying to take Jory deeper or closer to her needs. We're just going to walk with her wherever she goes. So let's just practice it for a moment. So I'll turn the screen off. And Jory, what's going on? What's something that's...
Well, when you said that, I sat there for a bit to try and figure out what, and what came to mind was someone who I'm related to, who is a bit, I don't know if I call it schizophrenic or whatever, but not, but has needed a lot of support, can't function on their own. And I feel a lot of mixed feelings about it. I feel really glad that this person is someplace where they can get the care they need on some levels, the medical levels, but I also feel some unsettledness about how much alone time this person is spending in this medical facility. Just really wishing that there was the care and the involvement. It seems involvement and connection with people is so important. Yeah.
So we're paused there. And now just write down, if you were sitting next to Jory like I am, and she naturally paused there, and she looked at me, that was like a signal. And I interpreted that signal as she'd love for me to reflect back, acknowledge her experience. So write down what you might say to her. And I'll check back in with you in about 3 or 4 minutes. So you could write it into the chat like some people are doing. And I'd love to actually give you somebody an opportunity to reflect back what you might say if you were sitting here where I am. Go ahead, Joey.
So I'm wondering if you're both experiencing gratitude that this person, or might be experiencing gratitude that the person you care for is receiving support and medical care and they're safe.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I am very grateful for that. Thank you.
And also wondering if you're really wishing to and might be concerned that they may not be receiving the amount of connection and joy and belonging and nurturance they might be able to receive if they're in more community.
Yeah. Or at least have a roommate.
Mm.
So look at just what just happened.
Yeah.
Jolie makes a guess, and she does it in the form of what I would call a gentle question. It didn't sound like an inquisition. It was like a wonder
Yes.
that she
That's
expressed,
the word, the one.
rather than a diagnosis.
Mhm.
And then the response that we noticed in Jory was Jory went inside,
Mhm.
and then she came out and she confirmed. In both cases, she confirmed Jolie's guess. So that's moving in the direction of what we would call acknowledgement. Thank you, Joey, for volunteering
Thank you.
to try. And Purva?
So I wrote that I listen to your sadness and pain and that you really want to help, but you're wondering how you can as you're physically not with that person in that medical facility. And maybe a feeling of helplessness and a little bit of mourning of how you could contribute more, maybe.
That resonates for me.
And a little bit of coaching,
Thank you.
if you're willing to hear it. And I'm actually not coaching you so much, Purva, as everybody here.
Mhm.
When we're in this acknowledgement phase, use 10 words or less. You don't have to report the whole story. You just want to, you remember the need that's alive is you empathized with the request that that Jory has, that she'd like to know that you're with her. So it only takes 10 words to let her know. And so, and if you don't know what to say, then here's something that you can put into your back pocket. Sounds like something's going on with your sister. Sounds like something, or this other person, sounds like something's going on with this relative. 8 words. You don't have to be concrete and specific. with your observation. It can be a vague observation, or you really wish your relative had more care, or you're feeling some gratitude right now. So just 10 words or less usually helps the listener, I mean the speaker, to stay connected to their direct experience rather than going up into their head in analysis to try to answer your question.
I also noticed
I have-
when I got some feedback, I first heard the pronoun I instead of you. And then it shifted to me, but I could feel that shift. It's like I left my body a little bit and then I came back in. Yeah. So
So-
just to acknowledge that when you use the pronoun I, it's more likely the person will put the attention on you rather than keep their attention on themselves.
This is actually kind of a neurological fact that
Mhm.
there's a gate, there's like a gate in our brain. And this gating mechanism in our brain is attuned to pronouns. And so when we say, when I say I, your brain knows I'm talking about me. When I say you, sounds like for you, blah, 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 your brain understands I'm talking about you. This is a completely unconscious activity that's going on in our heads. But if I say, I hear you saying blah, 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 then it's confusing for the brain
Mhm.
because the brain thinks they're going to get empathy, but it starts with the word I, and there's this moment often of befuddlement.
Oops.
Because wait a minute, I thought we were talking about me and now you're talking about you.
Mhm.
And of course, we've all of us, especially people here who are about my age or maybe a few years older or younger, we were all taught to make I statements. We were taught to never say a you statement. And now here I am telling you that if you really want to connect in an empathic way, don't use the word I. So there's going to be some unlearning to do.
Mhm.
Okay, Purva?
Jim,
Mhm.
yeah, I do have a question here because everything that you said right now, it completely resonates with me. So what tends to happen in a conversation is when I'm hearing someone, first of all, there is straight away a need to want to advise, suggest, or fix their mourning or their sadness, especially if it's something unpleasant.
Yeah, that's the impulse that we were
Right,
trained
that's-
with. Yeah.
Right, that's one impulse. Second, if I, let's say in an NVC way, ask, would you like a reflection? Would you like me to ask or share? Then I somehow feel I can only speak from my experience. So that's why the I comes in. That I did this and it really helped me. So maybe you could try it too. So
Yeah.
let's, for example, I journal or I do releases
Yeah.
and it has really, really helped me. And maybe you want to try this. So somehow, yeah, I'm just saying there's almost a confusion of where do you want to be empathetic and just listen, and where do you advise and suggest, and then how does it not become about yourself
Yeah.
because it's from your experience.
Did you want to respond to that? So what I love that you notice this impulse to fix it. Marshall jokingly called it a fix-it jackal. It comes from a beautiful, beautiful place. The same place that motivates us to practice NVC in the first place. We want to contribute to making life more wonderful, right? And so we think that if we could just fix it, then they'd be happy. But what we're learning, what I'm learning anyway, in NVC is to trust life,
Mhm.
to trust the other person, that they'll discover the strategy that they need. I don't have to be their guru, their teacher, their consultant. unless they ask. So the answer to your question is when is it time to give advice? Is after they make the request for it.
I want to just comment on one other thing, that when, I don't see her anymore, but when you started with the pronoun I. And my attention went from here to there when you say I. Whereas empathy usually is pointing to the person's heart that you're talking to. And what I notice when I get empathy like that, I stay connected to myself.
It supports your self-connection.
Yeah, it supports my self-connection. So,
See, I just did it right there, just so you could see it. I acknowledge true experience with 4 words. It's really easy to do. You just get into the habit. You can do it with TV shows. Just sit there and watch your favorite TV show and acknowledge the last thing that your favorite character said. They won't acknowledge it back, but you can get great practice. I used to try doing it with Rush Limbaugh, you know, the very conservative right-wing talk show host. I was first
3
learning,
minutes, I think
but we would practice. So you're really scared. You really want to protect, but whatever our guess was. So see,
Yeah, couldn't do it for very long. Maybe now I have more skill than I had then.
Siva, then Carolyn, then we need to get back to practice.
I'm wondering if you were feeling that your friend was lonely.
So see if you can say it again, Siva, without the word I.
Mhm.
Were you feeling that your friend was feeling lonely?
Perfect.
Yeah. And then I want to respond and go deeper inside me
Perfect.
because I looked in as you were speaking. And then I would bring out, it would bring more. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
letting me
you.
coach you, Siva. Carolyn?
Yeah, well, I was just getting confused about something you were saying. So I had the impression that if someone's talking, telling you about their pain or whatever it is, so you would be saying things like, so it sounds like you are something said,
Yeah.
what's something. But so that would be sort of more, that's like a guess, like a question, right? Rather than stating.
It's an interesting thing because it's not a question like a quiz. It's like an offering that, you know, and an invitation.
It said, are you feeling sad? Are you
Yeah, are
feeling?
you feeling sad right now? Is that really hard for you? Or if they actually said something, I might say, that was really hard for you, huh? So depending on how they said it, and the sense of connection, those would be the 2 ways that I would respond.
And the proof is in the pudding, always, as that's an English expression. The proof is in the, I mean, the real English, they're the ones who eat pudding all the time. Well, what it means is if you get an experience of empathic connection, then whatever you say worked. And you enjoy that. And if it doesn't, then you just move back into empathy and try again. You can't make a mistake here. There's nothing that is not recoverable.
Right. And I've even had people say, or I've heard it, I don't want empathy right now. I want to hear what you have to say about it, you know, and then we shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's keep going. Let me just share a little bit about the second layer of our artichoke. Need to share the screen again.
Artichoke.
We're unpeeling the artichoke here.
Yes.
So now we're past the spiny layers. And now we're going to move into a focus on feelings and needs. Notice that in the first layer, we're focusing on observations, feelings, and wishes. So these are kind of not very deep generally. But when we start focusing on feelings and especially connecting them to needs, we tend to go deeper. Now, my complaint about how nonviolent communication is generally taught is we skip number 1 and start teaching people that empathy is guessing needs. And my experience when this happens, when someone's listening to me and I really need empathy and they start making needs guesses and I'm not ready for it, is I get irritated. I find it like they're trying to take me somewhere is what I'm telling myself.
And it puts you right up in your head rather than going deeper into what's actually going on, which is how we heal ourselves.
So start with unpeeling a few leaves or flowers
Mhm,
at the acknowledgement level.
mhm.
And then the person will give you, they're giving you all kinds of nonverbal clues about their level of depth. And here's the one that you can practice paying attention to. If they're looking at you or looking up and around, trying to remember what happened, so their eyes are kind of above the horizon, then it's a great place to stay at level 1,
Mhm.
or just be silent with them.
Yeah, that would be walking with where they are.
And then at some point, if you acknowledge a couple times, or maybe you just are silent with them, you don't sense they need an acknowledgement, then they'll naturally do this. And that's your signal. When they look down, then that's a pretty reliable signal that the person has gone down to the next layer, when a needs guess can be really, really powerful.
Yeah, we've gone then from our head where we're analyzing it, or they are, where they're just talking about it. It's a story, to when they look down like that, now they're more into their heart. They're really connecting to the deeper place in them. And then what you're tracking them with is that second level now.
So let's practice this piece now. By the way, the easiest back pocket way to reflect a need is one simple phrase to remember. So for you, blank is important. And that'll take you right to the need. So for you, empathy is important. So for you, care is important, whatever your guess is. So that's an easy, very brief way of reflecting a need that you're sensing. The traditional NVC way uses 3 times as many words, which is, are you feeling X because you're needing Y? That's great for practice in the practice group. And it's also great for if you want to change the form of a relationship with somebody and drive them crazy, then just talk to them like that and they'll never want to be with you again, right? You want to find natural language, except in a practice group. Then you can practice, are you feeling because you're needing? So please don't practice this unless you're trying to drive somebody away from you. Then it's very, very effective. If you're tired of a coworker, just start giving them tons and tons of empathy. And then pretty soon they won't bother you anymore. They'll find somebody else to complain to. Okay, so now Jory.
Got some laughter there on that one.
I know, I was enjoying it. That's why I kept going. You guys were feeding me.
Yeah, someone put up that smiley happy.
So Jory, let me see if I can reflect back to the last thing I heard and then
Mhm.
we'll see if
Yeah.
you can get back into it. So you're talking about this relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like things aren't going so well for her in her current living situation. You've got some worry about it.
Well, actually, she's right now under a lot of care, and she's gone into, she's been getting medical support in a facility. So she's not back in her home, so to speak, or where she lives. But it's lonely for her.
Pause, just don't look at what Jory is doing now, body wise. See where her eyes are cast down now? So she's sending us the signal that she's moving closer to her heart. She's
Mhm.
not up here anymore talking about this relative. Now she's here. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, I think that's a really important piece, to wait until the eyes come back to you before you say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. Give me a prompt here. 'Cause
Yeah.
I got a little
Yeah,
lost.
I'll give a classic NBC guess.
Mhm.
So are you feeling worried because you really have a need for her to have the comforts of home?
Yeah, I really, it's not even comforts of home. I want to know that she's cared for and she has a sense of that she matters and that her needs are considered in the process. And it's, it's taking a fair amount of work with other members of our family too, to support her in being able to speak up for what she needs. Yeah.
Okay, so you couldn't see it, but her eyes came up and looked at me, which is my signal then to invite you to write down what you might say to acknowledge either Jory's observations, feelings, or wishes, or to connect with her need. You have a choice. You get to follow your own intuition. And I'll be quiet for 3 minutes while you think about it and write about it. Again, feel free to put your answer into the chat. Or in a moment, I'll invite a few people, new people,
This is
to share something with Jory. So about 1 more minute. So there's a couple in the chat. Let's just try one of them on you, Jory. I'll pretend like I'm Samata.
yeah.
Would you like some confirmation that your relative is getting the care she needs?
Oh my God. That just brings tears to my eyes. Yes, it's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gail says, this is so hard.
It is. Yeah, it really is hard.
Yeah. Are you feeling upset that you can't help?
Feeling, kind of hopeless or without powerless. That's the word. Yeah.
Okay, so look at that one. That's a powerful one because the guess wasn't exactly spot on, but it was close enough. And so Jory then could refer to her own experience and then go a little bit deeper. So you helped her to unpeel her artichoke.
Yep. Yeah, it was really that the first two were just right on, and it was like, and the second one was just, a little bit off, but it took me deeper. That one was the one that took me deeper because now I looked in to see what it was again. So you can't make a mistake in it, it's okay either way, whether what you say resonates or not, unless it's so off the wall that someone gets a little freaked out. But other than that, if you try to walk with someone, it's just offer them what comes up that you sense is so in them, and they'll generally look deeper.
Yeah, and so here's one using my prompt. See how this lands for you, Jory, from Monica. So for you, having people who take care of her needs is important.
Say it again.
Yeah, so for
Yeah,
you,
mhm.
let me see if I can do it with a little more of Monica's empathic language.
Yeah, I think so. It sounded pretty heady when
Yeah.
it came through.
Yeah, I think I got it. So is it that for you, it's so important that it's important for you that she's around people who care for her needs.
Yeah, that she's taken care of. The most significant difference in that was the voice he used initially.
Yeah.
Just notice that.
I went from my trainer voice
Yes.
to my
And it wasn't what he said, but it was how he said it that made the difference. I mean, what he said could also make a difference too, but that was significant.
Okay, so here's one that well, I won't make my prediction, but let's just see what happens. Are you anchored into a specific outcome or expectation? How will you feel if such outcome is or isn't manifested? What's your experience when you hear that guess?
I go right up into my head of analyzing something.
Yeah, I really get how
Yeah.
that you can't make that guess without empathy, right? You in order to make that guess, I have to be able to enter into your experience, but it kind of come out like a little bit like a quiz or a test.
Yeah.
Especially since there were two, right? Yeah. So again, brevity seems to really help people to unpeel their artichoke.
And also the tone of someone's voice makes such a big difference too. If you have sort of a quizzing voice, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, I made that way worse than it probably really was when DJK put it into the chat, because I actually saw it as two questions, and I've known her for 20 years of NVC, and I know exactly what not to do, and I still do it all the time. I'm a great debater, and I can see that I have an agenda sometimes to shift her out of her experience into one that I think would be more pleasant to be around. And so my empathy is often motivated by me trying to find a more comfortable place to be in the world. And if she's uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable. So I want to cheer her up. That's not empathy.
No.
It never helps. And one of these days, I'm really going to get it.
But, we can always call a friend.
Luckily, we have empathy buddies.
And actually, I appreciate you saying that, because the closer we are in family, or, that association, that kind of close association, the more likely we're now sympathetic rather than empathetic.
So let's move into the last phase, so you'll have a good juicy chance to practice here. So the third, and we won't practice this here, we'll let you go to your small groups to practice. The third layer is savoring. Now, we talk about savoring all the time in this class. It's like this underlying expression of being with what Marshall called beloved divine energy, or the living energy of needs in Robert Gonzalez's words. That we're just savoring the life. We've completely let go. If we're in empathy, we've actually taken our compassion temporarily offline. We might have been motivated by compassion in the first place. Compassion is this urge to contribute to the well-being of somebody else. Empathy is just being with another person without an agenda. So if I'm actually savoring, this can sound cruel to say, but if I'm savoring the living energy of Jory's needs, we could be here forever, no matter how much pain she was in. I had this experience with Jory as my empath when my mom was dying. I was so lucky to be accompanied by her through this excruciating experience, because Jory was able to savor the excruciating pain that almost all of us feel when we lose a parent. Jory never tried to cheer me up through that. She just savored the energy of my need. And so that's what this third layer is about. So it's a lot about how we often practice here with no words, where if there are any sounds that come out, it might be something like, some kind of, I call it a hominid grunt. It's just the kind of sounds that primates make to let Jory know that I'm connected to her, that I'm not actually thinking about tonight's episode of Succession or something like that, that I'm actually with you.
Mhm.
And I do that through this almost non-verbal communication
Mm.
of a grunt or a moan, something like that.
Yeah,
That's a
like
signal.
that.
That's a signal of savoring.
Yeah.
And now we stay there for as long as she's down here.
Mhm.
And inevitably, so far anyway, inevitably she always comes up, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about when someone looks down and savors, not, sometimes we look down and we're in a different space.
But
But
we're-
that place where it goes, oh, and you just holding your own heart, you're just holding,
there may be tears here.
yeah.
There may be weeping. There may even be angry feelings expressed. But I'm just right with her, no
Mhm.
matter where she is.
Mhm.
And so that's the savoring level. So that's, again, now we're back to mostly
Yeah,
silent
and I
empathy.
mean, mostly silent, but that's, I think the only thing that comes out of my mouth is, something like that. Just let them know that I sense their experience. I don't need any words at all.
And then when we come back up, we might be then back in level 2 or level 1. We might acknowledge what's happening for them right now. We might make an empathy guess about a request. Like we say, would you like to know what comes up for me?
Mhm.
It might be something that we empathize with that they might like next. So then we might say that.
Mhm.
Okay, so going to put you back into small groups here, or actually pairs. There'll be,
I like what Jolie just wrote in there, accompanying them.
it's an
Yeah.
accompaniment. I love these musical
Accompaniment.
metaphors.
Right.
So we'll do this for 20 minutes. You can choose in your pair to either split the time. So there's 10 minutes of speaking and 10 minutes of listening. That's the recommendation, but it may be that just one person would just like to practice listening and the other person wants to practice speaking, but you guys can work that out. Don't take a lot of time trying to figure it out.
Yeah, or somebody really does need some empathy and some accompaniment, and that this is an opportunity for you to speak about something, and that gives the other person the opportunity to walk with you.
So again, the timer will say 19 minutes. They'll count down from 19. There'll be 1 minute at the end. You can sit on your hands. You don't need to push any buttons, even though you'll be severely tempted to push the button. You don't have to put any buttons. If you end up in a room alone, just wait. I'll make sure somebody comes. Don't come back here. That slows it down. Just stay in your room and I'll get you connected to somebody eventually. Don't come back here unless you're coming to say goodbye or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
we'll
think
see you back here
everybody's
in
okay.
20 minutes. And some chickens,
Can you hear the chickens?
kind of hard not to. Zoom.
Welcome back. Look at this. Whee!
So take a moment and just close your eyes, if you're willing. After having had this experience, just
Say it again, because not everybody was here.
take a moment and close your eyes if you're willing, for about 1 minute.
And
Just be with yourself. Notice how your body feels having just had the experience that you had in your small group. First, noticing the feelings, the sensations, the emotions. Greeting them with a sense of warmth. Naming them if it's helpful. I feel, and fill in the blank. Or I notice, I'm feeling. Follow the feelings to your needs. Some needs may have been satisfied during the last 20 minutes. Some other needs may remain hungry. Make room for all of those needs. Notice them. Name them, if you have a name for them. Savor them. Taste their sweetness. And whatever need is alive in you, put it in the chat. Allow us a glimpse of your inner world through just 1 or 2 words. What need is most alive in you right now? Warmth, shared mission, sweet connection, flow, love, connection, 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 joy, empathy, being heard, rest and rejuvenation, clarity, growth, transparency of needs and feelings, belonging. Wow.
Openness.
Openness. What a lovely list of needs to savor with you.
Mhm. Trust. Accompaniment. Sharing, flow, openness.
The magic of just being there
Yeah.
for someone. A meeting of hearts. Radiance, empathy, and flow. To be heard. Aliveness. Competence and contribution. Authenticity.
Wow.
You can hear the roosters celebrating connection and sharing and presence.
Can you hear the roosters?
Hard not to. Shared reality. Thank you so much for sharing these needs reflections.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who would like to share anything else about your experience? I have about 4 minutes to hear a voice or two. If there's anything that you would like to celebrate or mourn.
About our class today.
Yeah, Gail. Oops, still need to unmute.
A celebration, the group that I was tagged with today, the person listened to her heart to show up. And we decided to be empathy buddies. And we both were in a similar course. But the level and depth of tying in, reading the facial attunement is a new piece. And we're excited to practice that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have, yeah, I have one request. There was a request for Rob if he could put in the words to that song. I don't know if you saw it.
We're
That he
happy, Ron. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll do that right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank
that was wonderful.
Thanks, Gail. And Purva?
My I have goosebumps and my heartbeat is really, really fast with a lot of joy and gratitude for this practice that we just did. I realized that I have never savored and listened the way I listened today. And to be able to constantly tell my brain, go away with that fixing and talking, trying to suggest, just shut up, just savor. And it's okay to be in silence with the other person.
Wow.
and really, really remembered your cues on, okay, all right. I think for me, it reached a point of crescendo. Yes, my session is on.
Mhm. I think she's done.
Thank you, Purva.
And I just wanted to share the last bit that I think I can describe it now, that it almost reached a crescendo for me of emotions, of sort of holding back, being okay with the silence, to a point that I could feel our vibrations through the phone. I could really feel the heaviness in the heart for whatever my partner was saying. And then it just happened in a jiffy where we said, hey, I asked, are you on WhatsApp? And she said, yes. And it was like an instant that, yes, let's share numbers and let's be in touch. Like I could just feel her. And I'm 48 and I can't thank you enough. I have not felt this in 48 years of my life.
Wow.
Because my brain is forever just speaking about fixing it.
Yes. Now you have a new, what we
Oh.
call, now you have a new reference experience. You have a new experience to refer to as a model
Oh my
of
God.
what's possible.
Oof, like right now, I wish I could share with all of you, like I have tingles in my whole body.
Yes,
Like
enjoy that.
it's,
Enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah,
oh
and
my
I want to
gosh,
make
thank
sure,
you.
I also want to make sure that you see that someone responded to you and said, so well said, Purva. That speaks to my own experience. Only for me, it was a lightness of heart.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then also in the chat, Fifi has volunteered to support people in finding empathy buddies. So if you like what happened today and you want more of it in your life, you can write to Fifi and she'll help you find a partner so that you can have this experience maybe once a week or
An
once a
empathy
day
buddy.
or once every hour or however often you want to try to create something with somebody. And I know I rely on it for myself. I have an empathy buddy meeting pretty much every day, at least 4 or 5 days a week. And so I encourage you to contact Fifi Johnson at gmail.com and express your interest. And then she's going to come up with a system to help people get connected.
And let's see, we've got 3 more hands.
Yeah, and I got a couple of other commercials to do before we get there. We'll get to these other last hands. But first, if you're here for the first time and you want to get our weekly email updates, you can go to this link in the chat and you can sign up for our email list. You can get off it whenever you want to. It's easy to get off and to get on. We do record all of the meetings that we have here and make them freely available on YouTube and our website. And you can follow either of those 2 links to see previous classes. There's well over 200 hours of training on our website, probably close to 300 hours now. So way more than you'd ever want to listen to, but you might find a topic that you want to review, like maybe you really got something out of today's class and you want to share it with your own practice group. We encourage you to do that. Let's see here. We are raising money for the project in Kenya, where we're working on building a school in Rusinga Island. And you can send me the money, or you can send money to CNBC and earmark it. I wish I had that other link here. Now I've got another link somewhere. I'll have to find that link for next week and put it on
But
my
you can
list.
put it at cnbc.org.
Yeah, I do have this link for CNBC to give money directly to CNBC. Just specify that it's for the Rusinga or NBC in Kenya school project. And I think that's enough of that kind of stuff. After the call ends and after we listen to these last few questions, we will make some new breakout rooms for people. Usually a few people stay at the end and hang out, maybe exchange information for creating future connections and so forth. So we'll do that right at the very end. And go ahead, Harmony, you're next.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I had a really nice session today around this savoring piece, because I recently lost a friend last month, and I watched myself week by week go through and savoring how I was feeling through this type of a practice. And then watched how I passed through different phases of grief work. And then I was with somebody who was grieving last night, and we were at a dinner party when it happened, and everybody was trying to fix it, and everybody was trying to say, don't worry about it, or give advice about how it'll be fine, and they're with you all the time, and all of these things that were making me cringe. But finally I found a little window and without, like, judging those people. We're all just trying to figure out how to be present for grief. I found a little window to just allow her, just said, it's okay right where you are right now, all of how you feel. And the whole room was just quiet. And it was this moment, and she did what you said. She looked down and she sat there for a while, and we just all held space. It was this moment. And then when she looked up again, she just was filled with gratitude and felt centered and empowered somehow by all of just the support in general. But just that little moment, I saw empowerment around, okay, this is a process I'm going to go through, and thank you. And today's lesson just confirmed so much about holding the space, and that, you really gave us a gift today, Jim and Jory, because savoring is precious. And whatever it is that is hard, just to savor is a huge gift we don't get in this world. So thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
sharing.
your experience, and thank you for the
Yeah.
gift you gave to your friend.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Dan.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Jory, everyone. I'm so grateful for my experience here today. I got such a huge takeaway. So early on, we were talking about giving and receiving, and I sensed that I really integrated in me. I really felt it in me, how everything that I do is both giving and receiving. And everything that other people do is also giving and receiving. Even greater than that, just the spirit of my presence is in a sense giving and receiving with life, with like this ecosystem of life. And I really felt that inside of me. And so a powerful takeaway that I got today.
Thanks for letting me savor it with you, Dan. It's so sweet to empathize with that. Actually, I was sympathizing with it. I was enjoying it so much. I wanted to feel it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your presence today and the gifts that you gave and received one another. I walk away feeling very full, very enriched, and very grateful that we have this opportunity to play together each week. And I look forward to being together next week, where we'll learn how to make an invitation to dialogue and hear no, and be able to respond to an invitation with empathy rather than defense or with hurt. And so that's what we're going to work on next week, is how to make an invitation and how to receive no with empathy. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you and having more opportunity to practice the skills that we deepened into today. And with that, I'm going to turn the recording off. Jory's made some small groups for you. If you want to stay, you can stay and hang out. And if not, then we'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha. Don't
Thank you.
forget-
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.